Hello, welcome to Flory Models. I'm Flory. Great show for you this week. In this week's show, we've got Airwolf, continuing on with the build from that one. So we've got this one in the spray bay this time, priming, white coat, things like that, working our way through that. The Tomcat, long-awaited start to the giant 1/32nd scale Trumpeter F14D Tomcat. So we're working on the cockpit on part one of that build. A special from the forum, bit of a request on sanding and rescribing fuel tanks, so working on curved surfaces, things like that. We've also got an in-box review of the A6 Intruder. This is Kinetic's new 1/48 scale, and seeing if it's got the same problems as their Prowler. So we're working that one through, plus all the site news and the various bits and pieces like that. Okay, so what a week. Obviously, I'm still getting to grips with multiple cameras, new editing software, things like that, and obviously the new sound system for this. So hopefully I'll be a little bit more clearer, things like that. As I say, it's been a work in progress, this, like relearning how to use things like Sony Vegas editing softwares, like learning German or something like that. Horrendous. It's like, you know, once you get the basics of it, it's not so bad. So hopefully by the time you're watching this bit of editing, I'm halfway there. But it was a learning curve for obviously recording Airwolf when I started videoing that on Tuesday. And yesterday I was actually recording part one for the Trumpeter build and things like that. So it's great. Unfortunately this week, due to time constraints, I haven't managed to get any work done actually on the Transall, but obviously I'll be on that one on Monday videoing and working our way through like that. So anyway, things we've got to talk about going on. Obviously this is the new show, so if you're watching this on Flory Models site, you'll be seeing the full video of this thing, which is about an hour and has got all the parts. So if you get to any bits and it goes suddenly a bit blank and then I come back, is obviously you're watching this on the free bit, and obviously you've missed out on some of the great work that we do. But anyway, I'm going to start off this week with what we've had in. So this week we've got the Intruder. Now obviously we all remember sort of Revell in the US. They did their version of it, which is probably very much known as the sort of definitive one. The drawback to it is, unfortunately, as we all know, it's got raised panel lines, and in this sort of modern era of recessed panel lines and recessed riveting and things like that, or even mixed media where you've got a bit of both, it is a bit of a shame that obviously it's come to that. So if we just clear a little bit of this out of the way, we can have a look in the box. Now, I haven't even looked in this box yet. Obviously, we've done in-box reviews already from some of the other manufacturers. So we're going to have a look in here. So immediately we're greeted by large bags full up with, you know, obviously sprues and that, which in some ways is a little bit naughty because they tend to sort of rub against each other, scratch up against each other and everything else like that, which is something we don't like to see. So what we're going to do, we're just going to have a rough look through how we're going to go with these. So as we can see, looking at this one, as you imagine, the layout is somewhat similar to how the Revell one is. So in this case, as you can see, we've actually got fuselage recessed panel lines, but what we were saying about, we can actually see here, we've actually got marks. If I zoom this camera in, I don't know how well this one will actually see this, but we've got some little marks up here. This is where it's been gouging against each other inside the bags, and that's what we're saying about a few extra pence literally would make a world of difference in here to stop this type of thing happening, because you are going to have to polish these out. It's that strange plastic which is halfway between crispy plastic and soft. You know, it's a little bit flashy on the sprues, but actually not on there, and it's obviously soft molded, which is something we've sort of we've learned from Kinetic. They're actually seeing it. Also, when you look at the panel lining detail on here, it's at different levels. Some of it's quite deep, quite heavy, others is quite light, shall we say, things like that. Some of it just tends to fade off to nothing, so you might have to run around with your P-cutter, your rescribing tool, going around fixing a few of the problems this one's got. So we've got weapons here, so we've got our obligatory retarded snake eyes, things like that, as we'd imagine. We've got sway braces as well to go on the pylons, things like that in sprue. That's a duplicate. We've got the actual two types of dive brakes. So we've got the one with the holes, but there again, the holes on these aren't universal. They are all different sizes, which is a little bit odd. And just generally looking at the quality of the actual sprues, when you look at these, we move the camera out a little bit, it does seem to be a little all over the place. A little bit flashy, a little bit soft. I don't know, it's just not all the way sort of there, shall we say. It's almost like you're going back a little bit in time. If we imagine the kits that sort of came out in the 80s, things like that. And obviously we're putting this up against quite an old kit now. We're actually putting this one up against a kit I think it's probably been around about near sort of 20 years, something like that one. I think that came out sort of mid-90s, something like that, which is the Revell one. So working, this is the other thing, we have got a separate bag for our clear parts here, but unfortunately, two things. One, it's got scuff marks all over it, where it's been running around inside the other bag and things like that. We've got a tiny bit of spider webbing, as I call it, which looks like it's when there's a fault with the moulding. I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, but you can just sort of see, you might be able to see it if you're in Glorious HD, but you can just sort of see it. It's like a curved mark coming around in here, which is a bit of a shame. And also it's in two bits, so that means we've got somehow got to glue this together without getting a glue mark down it. I know why it's injected like this is because it can be injected like this is here, so literally it just comes along. We just move you out a little bit. It just comes along and can be popped out of the mould, which makes it a lot easier for obviously a moulding point of view, but from an actual modelling point of view, not quite as good. So never mind. As I say, I don't know if anybody actually does an aftermarket one of these. So again, another big bag of screws. It looks like we do have a separate bag in here. And the one I want to have a look at is the wings, because I want to know if it's using the same wings from the Prowler kit as it is in here. So we've got jammer pods, fuel tanks, ejector seats, things like that in here, which is pretty much as we would expect. A little bit cleaner, to be honest. This sprue is a lot cleaner. It's not as flashy. So we've got a duplicate, that one. So sprue C is just a duplicate. Looks like... No, they haven't. Sorry, I was getting quite excited there. I thought they'd fixed the problem. The wings here then are obviously straight off of the Prowler kit. So again, it's little things like this here. This wingtip, you know, obviously it's got lots of flash around it. It's quite clunky, it's big, it's quite thick plastic and everything else. It's just not got that crispness that we sort of, I suppose, been spoilt with recently. Certainly FX kits coming on these days, Hasegawa, Tamiya, you know, things like that have always had it. But new breeds of kits don't tend to be flashy and clunky and everything else. But the usual thing is we've got the fence, no fence, you know, things like that. So we are just trying to see how it is. Now I could be getting this wrong actually. I'm just getting this in. So we have two fences, we have the lower wing and we have the top wing. Just making sure we get this around the right way. We have lower to top. Yeah, no, actually, no, I take it all back. The fences are all in here. So we've got two fences on the top half of both these sprues here, which we wanted, and we've got both fences on that side as well. So it looks like we have now cured the problem with the missing fences, which is quite nice. Okay. Down in the lower one, again, to be honest, I'm looking over this, trying to find faults with it, and I know I've just picked a lot of holes in it and everything else, but generally it's not too bad at all. We've got here the belly insert, which time will tell. Really, you have to build this one to know how the belly insert is going to go, but it's this area here, how that's actually going to fit into the model and everything else. So that's that one. So all in all, looking at it, we're going to have a quick look at the decals. Now the decals themselves are printed by Fighter Town, or designed by Fighter Town I should say, so you know they're going to be good like that. But again, very nice colour because it's cartographed. So as we can see them here, nice crisp decals, no problem at all. Again, I would love it if somebody would actually tape these down to stop them getting scraped and scuffed. We'll just pop them in the bag to keep them safe. So okay, we've actually got the instructions now. I'll just bring this camera out a little bit so you can see. So we've got the instructions going through. As we can see on these ones, they're nothing flash. They're quite basic the way they go, but they are comprehensive. That shows you all the parts as it goes in. Colours are in the guns call-outs, as we know with theirs anyway. But as you go right the way through, you can see it. In some ways it's quite complicated, but the way it's actually laid out, but if you take your time going through the builds and everything else like this one, and there's our artwork of the actual finished model. Is it any better than the actual I'll pop that on there. Is it any better than the Revel kit? I don't know. It's going to be one of those you're going to have to build it to find out. But the Revel kit does go together very, very nicely and everything else. And with a little bit of rescribing work, such as our Marcus Jellyman on the site did, there's the full photo build of his one there, and some scratch building, you can make an absolutely stunning intruder out of the old kit. So it'll be nice to know how this one comes up against it, which is something I'll have a go at in the future. Okay, so that's the intruder. Is it a good kit? To be honest, it looks okay in the box. I can't find any real faults with it or anything else like that. But it's going to be one of those things, how it actually builds. My only thing is that glass canopy, two-piece canopy. Oh, whoever would have thought of doing that. Anyway, great start for me this week. At the beginning of the week, after a few little hiccups, namely some cars getting written off, we managed to get going actually here. If I bring the camera in a little bit, so if we just zoom this in, you can see this is what I got up to. There we go, beginning of the week, starting on the cockpit. And normally, as you know, I go in and I go to town with them and we have tons of resin, and a lot of people say, you know, you're a lucky guy to afford all of this. This time, this is a straightforward, out-of-the-box build. So this is, for me, a first for a while, a straightforward, out-of-the-box cockpit build, which is quite strange. So anyway, this is how we got on so far. So let's have a look at me building this particular one. Hello, welcome to Flory Models. I'm Flory. Well, this is probably the biggest kit we're going to be doing, certainly for bulk and size anyway. This is the Trumpeter 1/32 scale F14 Tomcat. This is the D version. I hope you enjoyed the Tomcat build like that. That's part one. I've got a feeling that's going to run on a bit, although because I'm not using a lot of aftermarket stuff, hopefully it will be shorter than 15 parts or something like a lot of my recent ones have been. But again, it's going to be a lot of fun. It is going to be in-flight display, and since I mentioned it this week that I was working on it, a few guys have actually come up to me and said, how about doing it this way and having this type of thing and brass and everything else instead of using acrylic and things like that to make it more classic. So we might actually be rethinking this, because a couple of guys sent me drawings of how they've done theirs, and they are really, really nice, and I'd like to include those in the build. Anyway, as of builds, another part for you now we've got up here is Airwolf. Now we've been working on this particular one here, and as you can see it's all nicely white underneath and primed, and working our way through. And this is a part of, because we did the stalled projects build actually on the forum at the moment, and this is one that I put in a box. We all done it, left it to one side, it got covered in dust and horrible, and now I've come back to it. I'm really, really enjoying it, and it's great to do Airwolf because it is a old sort of friend of mine from my days of, you know, running around with Lego ones and things like that. But hey, look, we've now got one of these. So anyway, here's part 4 of Airwolf. Okay, and to be honest, after filming, because I've got all the base set up back here for it, I'm going to be carrying on with that one. So I'm going to be masking this one up this afternoon as you guys, this is uploading to the servers and getting on with the black work. So by next week, we should be really looking the business with this one. So it's probably only going to be another part or two of this build, but it has been a lot of fun, and a lot of fun to share with you guys on the net as well. The other big thing this week is, sorry, I'll put it down here, is fuel tanks. Always being asked about them, so it's up like this, not laying flat. So if it's down at an angle like this, you would find you're going to curl backwards on itself. But that's a quick one on doing fuel tanks. So there you go, patch show this week. Got to do a couple of little things for the moment, which I've had to write down here just to remind myself. In the actual forum now, members, if you go in there, we are doing like a voting type system for the next group builds and SIGs. I've got to cover this because some people tend to be missing this. Okay, first of all, the group builds and the forums are for fun. That's what it is. That's not getting the thing. This isn't an IPMS competition where we're going to have a million different categories and a million difference of opinions and everything else. The buck stops with us, okay? So at the end of the day, first or foremost, it's fun, okay? SIGs, special interest groups, as in special interest, as in small categories, i.e. manufacturers. So you could do one on Boeing or on Ford cars or something like that. That would be an interest group, or a particular fighter, such as, I don't know, F-14. Fighter, F-16, Spitfire, Mustang, they are what that actually is. You can't have broad areas because otherwise people are just going to get sort of confused with how it all goes. Now the thing is, group builds, that's a totally different matter. Group builds are sponsored by myself and usually another company or manufacturer, something else like that. So for instance, we've got a group build going on at the moment with the 109s. That is sponsored by Sam Magazine. So they're donating the prizes, as well as I'll be donating stuff as well into that one. We've got the next group build coming up is sponsored by Models Are Go. So they're supplying a first, second and third place. Now the voting for that system is actually done by those guys themselves. Okay, so Models Are Go will actually have final say on all the voting start to finish. So we're not going to be having polls and trying to whittle it down and then into sub, because it will just go on forever. But at the end of the day, everybody who takes part in a group build will automatically get the medal, which is the Flory Models medal, which I did think I brought in with me, but I didn't. So you're going to get a medal, okay? You're also going to get some goodies from myself. So it might be in the form of a sticker, which you see around, which are the ones up here, things like that. So you're going to get a sticker. You're also going to get some sanding sticks and perhaps, I don't know, other bits and pieces that I've got around here. So everybody who takes part. But the big thing is, it's taking part. You know, I know if you're competitive and you want to win things, go and join the IPMS and go to the shows and enter your models in there. Don't do it for ours, because ours are for fun, okay? It seems to got lost in translation a little bit over the last couple of days in the forum, where people are asking about various categories and voting systems. No, we're not having any of that. The voting is very simple. It's usually by the sponsor who does it. So if I sponsor one, I'll do the voting. If somebody Models a Go, John and Wendy at Models Will Go, they will do the voting. Sam Magazine, that will probably be with Jamie, you know, Haggis in the forum, because he's the lead guy. You know, he will be in charge. He will do the voting on that. So that's how that's going to run. So speaking of which, currently we've got going on at the moment, we've got the artillery SIG. This is, it's been a little bit overshadowed by everything else that's going on at the moment, which is a real shame, because there's some great work going on in that one at the moment. That one is going to go until the 8th of April. It's a SIG, there's no prizes, it's just for fun. I will do a video like the upcoming one that you'll see next week. Transport group build has just ended, okay? We actually had 31 completed at the end of the day with that one. So it wasn't a mass finish at the end, which we were sort of hoping for. And I think a lot of that is that, guys, you're getting sort of, you know, there's so much going on now, you sort of dilutes everything down. And that's what we're going to try and do, is pull it all back together. So we're all on the same page, because some of the early builds we did, group builds, we had a turnout of like literally 100 people would finish. So we're going to try and get that back on track. So anyway, great to see some fantastic entries in that for the guys who did complete. You're all going to get a medal. You're all going to get various sanding sticks and sponges and things like that from myself as well. And also you're going to get a sticker as well. I will get all of this done for next week's show, where I will do the final reveal video that we always do for all of these, and I'll get all your stuff off to you. So I'll be obviously knocking on your PM boxes for your addresses and things like that. Going through them. Okay, Bug-Eyed SIG, that one is going to got another 2 weeks to go. That's the F-18 Hornet one. That's pushed through and get that one done. Okay, so that's going to finish on the 25th of March. Jumping Jacks, you've got 5 weeks on that one, so you've got till the 15th of April. So again, push through on those. Shelf of Doom, Airwolf, hence is in for this one. 27th of May, so even I should be able to finish by then. Okay, Sam Magazine, the sponsor 109, which is SIG / group build even. 17th of June, loads and loads of you have gone in with this one, okay? We've got some fantastic, from straightforward out of the box builds right the way through to the fully detailed scratch building, you name it, it's having it. But as I say, great turnout for that one, it's doing really well. The annual Easter egg hunt, which, you know, even Mel gets involved with this one, that's going to start this Saturday, so it's the 10th, okay? You've only got a couple of weeks on that one, because obviously it's just over the Easter period. Again, purely for fun. We had a right laugh with it last year, and sort of, you know, it's carried through to this year, and it'll be our annual event for doing the Easter egg thing. And I will sort out some prizes and various things for that one for the people who take part. The big one that's going to start is the Russian jet one. Now, this is sponsored by Models Are Go. They're supplying us some Russian jet kits for this one. That's in 2 weeks' time, which starts on the 24th of March. So you've got a couple of weeks for that one. And if anyone's interested, it is actually my birthday on March the 17th, St. Patrick's Day. So you're all allowed to have a drink on me. I'm not actually paying for it. Okay, so that's the niceties all out of the way and everything else like that. Now, the only thing I didn't get round to this week, which was a real shame, was I wanted to get on with this one. This is the Transall build, but unfortunately just run out of time with everything. So I'm going to be cracking on with this one this week as well. Hence why I'm getting on with Airwolf this afternoon, and can get this one then into the spray bay and get on with the paintwork. As I say, it's a lot of fun. We're doing this in the camo, so it's going to be the black, and then it's going to have the green, and then we're going to really weather it up and make it look pretty beat up and worn and nasty. So that'll be really on for this week. I hope you like the new show and the way we're doing it. Obviously, this is a massive learning curve for me, not only for doing videos, because let's face it, I've been doing them now for 5 years. Actually doing these videos to you guys, but also the thing is that it's new software, it's new editing software, so I'm learning all the time. So bear with me over the next couple of shows until I learn how to use Sony Vegas and running 2 HD cameras and a shotgun microphone and all things like that. So bear with me until next weekend, everybody. Happy modelling and take care.